Hi guys, so I am Allie. I am the social media Fable Bandit of Fablebands, and I have author Tabitha Caplinger here with me, and I'm so excited. So a lot of you guys have seen, we just revealed we have a band for the upcoming book, The Wolf Queen. It comes out January 12th.
Yes.
And guys, I've read it. It's amazing. I'm super excited. Before we get started with the interview, of course I had to come bearing, yay, gifts.
Yay, can I open it?
Heck yeah. So,
I'm so excited.
I had to, of course, have one for you.
I love it so much.
So you got your scrunchie too.
Yes. Which my daughter will probably steal
They're
about
so
3
good.
minutes after this interview is done. Oh, it's so pretty.
It turned out really good.
Guys, it matches my tattoo.
Yes, this is what I told some of the reps that it matched her tattoo, and they're like, what? And I was like, I'll get her to show it.
It's so pretty in person. It was really pretty in the pictures, but it's really pretty in person.
Yeah,
And the
when I
colors
got it, I was like,
perfect.
it goes so well with it.
It's so perfect. I love it so much.
Okay, so we have lots of questions from reps and followers and everything like
I'm
that.
so excited. The whole Fablebands community has been super stoked about this, and that makes me super. My little small author heart is.
We are a very enthusiastic bunch.
I love it. I love it. Like I said, my little small author heart, especially really close to release, it has been so grateful, and so every time, just know every time you post, this is me. I'm so excited. I really am.
And if you hear children in the background, there are children in the background.
It's just our kids.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yep, because this is the most kind of common question I've gotten. What inspired you to write The Wolf Queen?
What inspired you? Well, I was writing a different project that Allie knows about that I'm still working on. It's like the book that I swear I'm going to get it finished. It's going to happen. But I was working on it, and my daughter, who she's 8 now, and I want to say she was maybe 5 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She has a little Wolfie stuffed animal. His name is Wolfie, because all of her stuffed animals are just the animal with an E at the end. And she brought him to me while I was working, and she set Wolfie on my head and goes, "Look, Mom, you're the Wolf Queen." And so I was like, oh, that's cute. And then I was like, the Wolf Queen. Who is this Wolf Queen? Where did she come from? What is her life like? And that rolls into a book, because that's pretty much how all of my books start, is a random picture, a song lyric, an image, just something random that gets me asking questions. And then the questions either take me to a story idea or they don't. And this story idea kind of took over, pushed all the other story ideas out of the way.
I remember. She messaged me and was like, so I'm putting this one to the side. And I was like, what? It was very exciting. Okay, what would you tell aspiring authors?
What would I tell aspiring authors? I would say the biggest thing is probably 3 things. One is to keep studying your craft. If you can always get better at writing, you can always learn more. So read other books, read books in your genre, read books that are not in your genre. I was not a huge reader of fiction. I read a lot of nonfiction, and I have been getting a lot better about reading more, and I can tell a difference in my own writing when I read more and take the time to invest in yourself to really learn the craft and to learn the business of it.
Yeah.
That's one thing I always tell, which isn't the most fun and inspirational thing to tell young authors, to tell aspiring writers, but the business side of publishing is super important. And so I think that understanding how the business side of it works, because a publisher, even the big houses, are not going to do everything for you, and to get to that point takes it. But then aside from that, write the stories that you love. Mm-hmm. There'll be people that tell you to write to market or this or that, and that's not necessarily bad advice. But for me, I have to write the story that I love. Mm-hmm. I have to write the story that I can't put down and I can't walk away from, because writing is really hard, and writing 80,000 book words takes a lot of time. So if you don't love the story, you're not going to enjoy it. and then just don't quit. Like, keep going, don't quit. Writing is really hard. Publishing as an industry is really hard. It comes with a lot of rejection, and it does come with some really awesome moments. Yeah. And so hold on to the really awesome moments and let the rejection moments kind of slide off and just keep doing it.
And I think that kind of goes along with like the publishing side of it, knowing that that's normal.
Yeah.
Like the rejection side of it is very normal.
And it doesn't feel good. But one thing I always told myself when I was submitting books to publishers, finding a publisher, is I don't need them all to say yes. I just need one yes.
Yeah.
So every time I would get a no, and there were a few of them, quite a few, it hurts. I mean, it stings. You're going to feel that. But I just would remind myself that they're probably not the publisher for me or for this book. And so I'm going to move on to the next one. And you learn from that rejection. And it kind of builds thick skin, because then some reviews are good and some reviews are not good. And so you kind of just learn how to deal with that in a way that you take the positive and hold on to that. And the negative that you can learn and grow from, you obviously take that. And then the rest of it, you just put it aside. Because at the end of the day, like, I love this story.
Yeah.
So if nobody else loves it, I mean, I hope other people love it. But like, that's okay. Because I really love it.
Well, I think it goes for like any type of creative outlet or any type of artistry. If you're not putting out what you love, then I feel like it loses so much heart and so much meaning behind what you're putting out.
And you got to put a lot of work into it, and not just the writing and the editing, but then even after the book is complete, there's so much work with marketing and getting it out there and exposure and all of those pieces. So if you don't really love it and aren't really passionate about it, then it's hard to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
And I just really love it. Even I had to do one last proof pass of the physical copy of the book. That's one of the things my publisher does, because sometimes we catch any last minute typos, so they have several eyes on it. And it was so funny because I wrote it, so obviously I know what happens. But I have already read it between writing and editing and revising and all of that 15, 20 times. And I'm reading it again, and I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, and I'm like crying. And I'm telling him, what are you doing? Like, you knew this was gonna happen. And yet you're crying, like, why? But it's because I just really loved it, and I love these characters, and so that keeps me motivated to keep talking about it, because I just really like it. I'm not talking about it necessarily to just sell it. I just really like it and want to talk about it with people, because Allie knows this, I always say I'm like my own biggest fangirl.
No, she's told me, I don't know how many times, I can't wait for you to read it so we can talk about it.
So we can talk about it. Like, whether you like it or not, I just need to talk about it. Because things happen and we need to discuss them.
Lots of things happened. I cried a lot. I also laughed a lot.
There's some fun in there. It doesn't have quite as much humor and sass as TCO3, my trilogy, but there's a little bit in there.
Yeah, it definitely has that, like,
there's some snark.
It's your voice that you bring as an author, like, that you bring personally. You have that little bit of snark and sass in there, and it just wouldn't feel like a you book if it wasn't.
There has to be a little bit. Just a little bit.
Okay, so you were talking about, that you love these characters. Which one is the one you love the most?
Oh. Okay, it's a really tough call, because Ylva's awesome, and
she's
Rohan,
amazing.
She is, and I really like the way that her character turned out. I feel like she had a good balance between being strong, but also having some weaknesses and flaws that make her relatable. Rohan is...
He's Rohan.
He's just Rohan, and...
I have a lot of feelings about him.
Yeah, but I think, and then there's the wolves. Erland is just a. But I think if I have to choose, she's so mad at Erland for things. There's a little bit of bitterness, but I think if I had to choose a favorite character in the book, I would choose Elior, because I just love his joyful little cryptic self.
He drove Rohan so mad.
He did, and it was so fun. Elior was super fun because I know gonna happen. It would be weird if I did it. But, you know, you don't know for a lot of the book about Elior. So the number of
He's
people
a mystery till the end.
Yeah, that people have lots of feelings about him that have read it so far. But he's so just weird. And
He's very weird.
But
weird. Like, in like, see, to me, he's like weird in like a wholesome, like comforting
it's a very
way.
endearing weird.
Like,
I mean, not to Rohan. Rohan would totally disagree with that.
Rohan's like hair sticking up on the back of his neck. Like, I don't like this guy, but me personally, I was like, what is wrong with you? He's a cinnamon roll. We gotta hug him.
Yeah, like I just love it. And he's so cryptic and he says things.
And then he leaves.
And then he leaves and he doesn't really offer explanation. And the scenes between Elior and Rohan were some of my favorite to write because Rohan is so bothered by him and doesn't get him. And yet Elior is just so Elior that it all goes like, over his head.
It was like, he's fine. I don't get what your problem is. Like,
I don't.
And Rohan's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's like so bothered. And so, yeah, so I think he was my favorite. And just because I love villains and I love writing villains, I will say I did very much enjoy writing this villain. She's a whole mess of evil and darkness, and
I got
she was
chills
super fun.
the first bit we read about her, like chills all the way up my arms. I was like, ooh.
Oh yeah, she's
I like her.
very dark and very creepy, and I don't know, she's weird. She's very different from some other bad guys. Just her whole thing. It's just,
yeah.
I don't know how to describe her, but I enjoy writing the villains, which is weird. I'm the least villainous person ever, but I enjoy writing them. There's something, it's creatively challenging and to make them feel. And for her, because I've written other villains before that have like some redeeming qualities.
Yeah. There's really nothing redeeming about her, but you like love to hate her.
Yeah. Like sometimes there are
Her
villains.
dialogue is really good though. Like I felt like whenever she would show up and like converse with people, I was like,
oh, she's a little sassy.
okay.
Yeah. And I love her because sometimes there are those villains that you love them and like you want to fix them and you're like, oh, but sweetie, you're just so broken and I can help you and you can be better and make better choices. And then there are villains where it's like, oh, you're just evil and I hate you, but I love to hate you.
That's her.
That's her.
Yeah. The character that gave you like the most work to write, like who was the hardest to write?
Probably Ylva. Which is not normal for me. Usually the main characters are the ones that are the easiest because I relate to them. But figuring out Ylva and really what was going on inside of her was difficult, and trying to keep it balanced and trying to keep her balanced with Rohan and things. So I think she was the hardest for me to write.
Yeah.
And I didn't think she would be at the beginning, because like I said, normally those female leads just are what comes easily, but Rohan actually came really easily. I'm like, I get him. I know what he's got going on. I know what he's struggling with. Like, me and Rohan are here.
Well, there's a lot with Ylva that's very unknown.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's trying to figure out, while knowing those unknowns, but not revealing those unknowns, you know what I mean? You have that to go behind everything.
And figuring out her backstory and how to make that plausible and how to reveal that to both her and the reader, which doesn't make sense, but if you read it, that will make sense.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's like she was raised by wolves, but if you Google it, which I did, wolves cannot raise an infant baby. Even if they wanted to, they would not be able to keep it alive. So how does that happen? And so figuring out her backstory was kind of challenging. And then and like I said, even just what is motivating her and what are her fears and what are her insecurities and how does she deal with them? Like there was a lot of moments and scenes with her where it was really touchy to figure out, is this really the way I want her to be portrayed? Is she coming off confusing? Is it like, is she consistent at least?
Well, and early on, there's something that she mentions. She mentions that she doesn't know half the time if she's a wolf or a human. Like, she falls in those weird lines of not knowing how to, I think, almost interact with things, because even though, you know, she's grown up at this point with other people, she still very much has that in her nature, and
she doesn't feel like she belongs.
Yeah.
She doesn't know where she fits or how she fits, not exactly. And so she's figuring that out and figuring out the why behind that for her and what that feels like for her in different scenarios was a little bit more challenging, because I didn't want her to come off as like this just perfect, super strong, flawless character, but I also I didn't want her to be too insecure or feel like I needed that balance for her to be what she needed to be for things that happen.
Are you a plotter or a pantser?
I call myself a flexible plotter.
Okay.
Because I like to have things plotted out, and normally I would just do, okay, here's how we're going to open, and then the main scenes, and how we're going to end. And then as I write, extra scenes get added in, kind of as I figure out exactly how we're going to get from one point to the next. For one of the projects I'm writing right now, I actually started using the Save the Cat method, which was super helpful because I could not figure out how to get from where I wanted to go, and so that helped. So I definitely like to plot out all the main points, but I am flexible because things change.
Yeah.
As you get into it, either something didn't work right, or sometimes characters just do stuff, and that's really weird because people will be like, well, you wrote them, so how could they surprise you?
No, but that's true.
It is so true.
That is the most true thing I've ever heard.
They do, because all of a sudden it's like, wait, they did that? I mean, in
They have voices.
In TCO3 trilogy, Lucas did some stuff where I'm like, wait a minute. There's a whole chapter. As weird as this sounds, there's an entire chapter in TCO3 Bloodline from Lucas's point of view that was never in any of my notes. And as I started writing it, I was like, whoa. Like, this really happened to him? Like, it was almost like, I don't know where it came from, but it set up this whole thing for him. And so I'm a plotter, but I leave room for the characters to kind of adjust. And normally the adjustments don't ever completely change the story. Like,
it's
they don't
just like
change the ending.
Situation change a little
bit. Normally I know the ending the moment I start writing. I know how it's going to end, and that doesn't change. Except for the project that I'm working on now, They Might Be Aliens. I don't know how that's going to end. And that's probably why I'm struggling to finish it, because Brian and I talked about it for an hour the other day. I'm like, I don't know how to end this book. There's aliens, something's got to give. I don't know. But I don't know. But yeah, I definitely a plotter.
How did you stay motivated during your writing process?
I tend to be I tend to be a pretty intentional person, and I tend to be good at time managing. So this past year has been really hard because sheltering in place, and so I went from having a lot of time where my kids were at school and my husband was at work, where I write best alone. And then now I'm never alone because he's working from home a lot, not every day, but a lot. And my kids, we decided to homeschool this year. So that has thrown it all completely for a loop, and I'm trying to figure it out. Noise canceling headphones and a good playlist help a lot. But for me, again, it goes back to loving the story. If I love the story, then I want to keep writing, because I want to know how it's going to turn out. I want to know how it's going to end. I want to see all the pieces come together. And aside from that, it's just I try to tell myself, okay, I want to write 2 days this week, 3 days this week. I used to write every day, and this year it just hasn't happened. And so I've had to be okay with that and give myself some grace and have patience with it. But a lot of it is just, I really love the stories. And if I hit a bump and I hit that writer's block, I take a break, I do something else creative, I watch some movies. I listen to the playlist I created to go with it to try and get me back vibing with the plot again. But really, it's just I enjoy it, so I need to know how it's going to end.
It's really just needing to know how
It's really, I just need to know. And then with this one, it was like, oh, what's Rohan up to today? Let's go find out.
Which is a good motivation, trust me. Okay, this one's really fun. If you had a wolf, what would you name it? You basically
I sort of have
one.
a wolf. He can't come in here right now because he's a hot mess. But, and his name is Wyatt. If I had an actual wolf, I don't know. I would potentially name it after the wolves in the book, but Voldor is like hard to say. Yeah. If I'm yelling at the dog for my back door to come in. So
could you imagine like yelling like out your back door and the neighbor's like,
what is she talking about in some weird made up Nordic language? Yeah, but I have a very large Tamascan husky who looks like a wolf, yellow eyes and all, and his name is Wyatt.
He's really sweet. I love him.
He is, but has no sense of personal boundaries, which is why he's not allowed in here right now.
No, he will literally just be like right next to you.
Trying to curl into your lap.
Because he's a lap dog, really.
And you're pregnant, so he would be obsessed with your stomach.
Oh, yeah.
We got him while I was pregnant with my youngest, and he would be obsessed with smelling my stomach. And I could swear that he could smell her. Because the moment she came home from the hospital, he just was...
He's like, that's what it was.
He's like, that's a person. That's one of our persons.
No, the second I walked in, he was like...
Yep.
I was like, yep, you know.
Yeah.
This one's also pretty fun. Describe the Wolf Queen in 3 words. It's like the 3 emojis that we did.
We did, the 3 emojis. Wow.
Throwback.
Wait. Choices. And oh wow, like choices, faith, and love. And then if I can add bonus words, wolves and Vikings.
And a big dragon. Which, by the way, I'm not supposed to ask a question, but I'm supposed to pass along because I was like telling the reps what the book's about. I was like, and there's a dragon, and all of them just started screaming dragons. So I'm supposed to pass along dragons.
That was pretty much my reaction when I had when the dragon first entered the picture. I'm pretty sure I was plotting out, and I was like, there could be a dragon. I can do that. It'll work. There's a dragon.
So there's a question. I know you don't do this, but people want to know, do you play video games, and what is your favorite game if you do?
I don't now. I used to play video games. When Brian and I first got married, we were obsessed with Kingdom Hearts. Yes. And we would race to see who could get home first, to get on the video game first, to be in charge of gameplay. So that, because we couldn't both play at the same time, so it would be one of us playing while the other was just like helping. And so, or like I would get off of work way before him, because some days I only had to work half days, and I would be on and playing, and he would be so mad when he got home. So I did play that, and I played a lot of Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day. I don't game as much now, but I did play those. My kids game, my husband games.
Your kids do game.
My especially my youngest, she is.
Yeah. She's a gamer through and through.
She really is. She loves gaming.
Okay, and then I'm just passing on a little note just from Milene saying, just a huge thank you for, allowing us to create this.
Oh, thank you guys. Allie knows, I'm so excited. This has been huge, and it totally means the world to me, in the support, really. When I said I'm every time, I really am. I am that excited, and I love it, and so I am so grateful.
The design turned out so good.
It really did. It's so pretty. There's little wolves on it.
Whenever we were discussing the design, I hope you know, I was just okay, so this is what we're doing. I was like, I really would love to do something inspired by the cover because the cover is so cool.
It really is.
Who was it?
Aaliyah Harper did the cover. She did an amazing job, especially because I was on another podcast and they were asking me about it. And basically, I'll send my ideas of what I think I would want in a cover. And then my publisher kind of takes it from there. And they're really cool about letting me have a lot.
Well, you have a lot of leeway.
Yeah, I have a lot of input. And I got to actually kind of pick the cover designer. I asked them if they would kind of see if she was available because I had seen her other stuff. And so they were. But with this one, I'm like, I don't know what the cover could be. Maybe blue and gold and have some stuff on it. Here are things that are meaningful to the book. And within like 2 days, she sent this back. And here's a fun fact about my awkwardness. I was so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. I don't know how you took the hot mess of an email that I sent and turned it into this, but it's magical. But then I was laying in bed that night and I was like, oh, you know what would make the cover better? If there were wolves on it somewhere worked in. And then I looked at the picture again and realized there already were. They were there. They're built into the scroll work. And so I couldn't really see them at first because I was so excited by everything else that I just didn't pay attention. But yeah, there's like wolves on the cover. There's little wolves in the design. It's so perfect. It's so pretty.
I sent the list of like what it had to be like. I was like, I told Nene to tell Carmen, the artist who did the band, I was like, the wolves. We need to incorporate them. I was like, they are important. And then I was like, I really would love to get that like really pretty like golden like font on there with, and she was like, what do we put in this little area? I was like, her tattoo. And they were like,
which I had just gotten.
Like, and I was like, send me a picture. And she's like, it's got the bandage still on it and everything.
I was like, okay, it's still really red. I had just gotten it. But it's kind of, the axe and sword are kind of perfect for this book. And so yeah, it's so pretty.
This is a question you will love.
Okay.
Because it's a very Tab question.
I'm ready.
And I didn't tell them that this is something you love. If your book were to get turned into an adaptation, like movie or series, who would you cast as Ylva?
As Ylva? Oh, I don't... Okay.
Or Rohan.
Rohan would be Charlie Hunnam, hands down. That's in my Pinterest board. I have Pinterest boards, guys, that have the inspiration, because I like to have pictures of different things to kind of help me. So I especially find pictures of actors or models or whatever that have the right look, because it helps me when I'm describing a character to have that frame of reference. And so hands down, he is Rohan. For Ylva, I'm not exactly sure. Like, I don't know that I could give you a name. I do have a couple people on my Pinterest board. Some of the actresses who were in the show Vikings, I think would be perfect. And Ylva's hard because she's got to be tough, but she can't look super tough.
Because she's kind of dainty and small.
Yeah, she's kind of dainty.
We're petite ladies here.
So I like to represent the short, really skinny girls who don't look like they are tough, but can take you down if they need to. I once tackled my husband to the ground for a Hershey bar, guys. And so I can be feisty. So I don't know that I have an exact name, but I do have some inspiration on the Pinterest board of kind of that, because it's Viking-esque, so kind of that Nordic feel, someone who looks a little daintier, looks unassuming, looks like they wouldn't be real tough. Because that's one of the keys, is Rohan doesn't understand why people are so...
When he first meets her, he's
reverent of her, and he's like, I don't get it.
So she's got some wolves.
It's like, whatever. He's like, I don't get it, but it's fine.
I can sit on her, and she's probably like,
yeah. Plus, I like the idea of having this like dainty person, and then Erland, who's like 2 feet taller than her, and this huge guy that follows her around, but is like, she doesn't need protecting. Yeah. He's always there.
And he knows it too. He's like, she doesn't need me. I'm just here.
I just really care about her. So it's, yeah. So, and this is one, and usually I am much more specific with who would play them in a film adaptation, because I already have TCO3 trilogy completely cast.
Yeah.
So should Joss Whedon or David Greenwald or anyone want to make that into a movie/TV series, I got you covered. I've got, like, again, the Pinterest boards show, and then for the projects that I'm currently working on, I definitely have specific people in mind, because usually I just find someone that's like, oh, they feel like they have the right vibe, and usually it's a vibe more than a look. Sometimes it's both, but this one, I think this one snuck up on me because my kid put a stuffy on my head, and then it just happened.
Really did, because like I remember you texting me and being like, I think I have to put this on the back burner. Like, you were like really like bothered by it. You're like, I need to write this book. And I was like, what? And you're like, it's Vikings and stuff. And I was like, oh,
then you must.
I was like, don't let me tell you no.
No. Well, and part of it, at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna write 2 books at once.
You did try for a while.
I tried, where, okay, Tuesdays are focused on Project They Might Be Aliens, Thursdays are focused on The Wolf Queen, and I really tried, and I found out that that does not work for me. I've been trying, I have 2 current manuscripts now, Project Ghost Boy and Project They Might Be Aliens, and I kind of still couldn't, I can't do the simultaneous.
Are you focusing on Project Ghost Boy more?
I was for a little while, and
to get it figured.
Yeah, and I thought that I would actually get it done sooner, but then I don't know, something about Project They Might Be Aliens sucked me back in. I think because emotionally it really vibes well with 2020. I don't know if that's encouraging.
From what I know about it, yeah.
So I was like, I feel like I'm more in an emotional state of mind for this weird sci-fi dystopian than I am for a fairy tale retelling, but I don't know. Again, I've written like 2,000 words this whole year.
And that's okay, because
it is. It's totally okay.
This year's for the Wolf Queen.
And well,
technically next year. But
and I'm so excited for it to come out and everyone to read it.
Yes.
So we can talk about it.
And I'll recap that it comes out on January 12th. You can pre-order, but it's in my personal bio. It's in yours.
It's in my personal bio.
And it'll be on Amazon.
Yes.
And ebook, right?
Yes, it's the pre-order is paperback only, and there is still some swag available while supplies last, but you have to pre-order through page 158 books to be eligible for the swag, because I like to support indie bookstores.
It comes with the map I made. So pretty. This map was a lot of fun. I've never made a map. I felt like I was doing my husband's job, because that's literally what he does.
It turned out really good. It's really cool. And then one of the pre-order swag things is a little postcard of the map.
So you get that, as well as some other really cool goodies. You can see it on her profile, actually. So thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, thank you. I'm
so
excited.
It is kind of just, I haven't got to do like an interview or anything like that with you in so long. It's been since Armor Bear.
I know, it's been forever since we've done anything like this.
We just normally hang out and drink coffee.
And we talk about the book things.
Oh, we talk about all the book things.
But not like in an official professional capacity.
Yeah. So it was really, really fun. So thank you so much for doing this. And make sure you check out the book, guys. It's going to be amazing. All right. We'll see you later. Make sure you check her out. I'll have all the links and the things. So toodaloo.